Let's talk to Justin, calling in from Alabama this week. Justin, what's up?
Hello. Thought I would start the show off with a nice light topic for you guys.
Now that I'm reading the call screening, I know that you're joking, but
I suspect that there's no way this is going to be a light call.
Yeah.
So bring it on, Justin. Glad to have you.
Well, so guys, I'm pretty nervous. I know everybody says that, but my first time ever calling an ACA show was last week. I called this show and I spoke with Brenda and Puck, and it was pretty cool. But I got to say, guys, both of you were instrumental in helping me shape my mindset and my outlook on life for the better. And Matt, you taught me a lot about reason, and Dan, your story with Anthony resonated with me. So anyway, I want to get that out of the way.
Well, thank you for saying so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just excited to get to talk to you guys. Anyway, so here's the thing. I was thinking of a topic all week, and I had this fun thing about parallel universes that I will eventually am going to call about, but I thought, no, there's something that's been on my mind, and that something is, so I'm a creator. I write books, I write novels and I'm not trying to self-promote, I'm just saying I write novels on the side. I have a day job, and all of my thoughts about the world seep into my books, of course. And my mom would ask me questions about it, and, where do you get these ideas, and what does that mean? And, really offended because I'm a Southern Baptist. I mean, I'm not, but I grew up Southern Baptist. Sure. Until I don't know, a few years ago, I get Cosmos of All Things by Neil deGrasse Tyson is what actually started lighting the fire in my head. And then when my mom died from cancer last April, and she was 58, and she was, believing till the day that she went that she did something wrong, and that was why she was dying. And so at the time, I'm trying not to give too much preamble, but I'm trying to, shape the story. But basically at the time, I had a friend that was telling me about Jordan Peterson, and I went down this crazy rabbit hole where I was emotionally at a disadvantage because my mom just died, and I'm listening to this guy who makes you feel things. And yeah. I went from being an atheist to being all of a sudden like the most devoted Christian for about 2 months. Until I read the Bible, and then I was like, hold on, what the hell? And then I found Atheist Experience, and then, Matt, I found your debate with Jordan, and man, you dismantled that guy's logic better than Sam Harris could do in 4 interviews. So that's all I'll say about that. It just was like, holy shit, like the smoking thing. You can't stop smoking without a mystical experience. I'm like, okay, I got to put this shit down. This guy's, I like the guy, don't get me wrong, but like, anyway, my point is, I went through a real weird emotional roller coaster over the last year where I went from being like sort of an atheist to like a real Christian to the hardest atheist possible. All the while, my dad's grieving, and he doesn't know it. And I know on the Atheist Experience and the Talk Heathen, and a lot of times the host will say something like, well, how important is it to you to tell them? Like, what is that going to get you? And I get that, and that's why I have not. But here I am going, okay, I think I'm ready to finally tell him. Like, it's not so much tell him, it's just stop like not telling him. In other words, I can't create the way I want to create if he's going to read it and think, oh my God, he is an atheist. Oh no, it's the end of the world. Well, So right when I'm getting ready to just be like, oh, well, I'm just going to casually just drop it. I'm not so sure I believe in that anymore. Or maybe hit him with some straight epistemology or just whatever. I'm not going to attack him. I'm just not going to keep lying about it.
Yeah.
And then he hits me with, he has cancer now. And like this happened yesterday. And so that's why I was telling you all that about, what my topic was going to be and all that. Like, basically it changed everything because I thought, I don't think I could do it now. I don't think I should do it now. And I think, I don't know what you guys think about that, but does that make any sense? I'm a passionate person about what I believe in. So if I'm, I want to be the next like cosmic skeptic or holy Kool-Aid or whatever. It's not that I want to be famous. It's that I want to be the guy that's telling people things that makes them open their mind like I did, you know? And if that's in my writing, that would feel like something that like gives my life a purpose, so to speak, that I would love. But I feel like stilted by the fear of like my dad going, "Oh my God, I can't believe that," you know?
Yeah. I have some thoughts on this, but
you know, go ahead.
Yeah, I want Matt to speak to this first, and then I want to give my thoughts, because I am curious about your response to this, Matt.
Well, I think Justin kind of partially already knows what my response is, because he partially addressed it, which is, what's your reason for wanting to tell them? I can appreciate that you would want someone who you love and who loves you to know and appreciate you for who you are. But if you got somebody who's on their deathbed, or somebody who's in a really difficult spot, the question is it the right time, the right place? And I don't know. I like the fact that rather than trying to maybe do what everybody else has done to be the next whoever, that you're doing it through writing, because I don't know that there's enough people doing that. I'd love to see more, and not just like, here's a book, but here are atheist characters on TV shows and in movies and other things that are not speaking like caricature cliches, that are actually doing something to teach, in the same way that, I have stuff in my head from Schoolhouse Rock. 3 is a magic number. Yes, indeed. And conjunction junction. And I get it. Those are songs, but also there were characters on TV that made it more okay. Like I said before, I found my way out of religion on my own, and I was, a huge fan of James Randi, who later I became friendly with, and Penn and Teller. Penn and Teller were the ones that made it okay in my head to say, "Oh, I'm an atheist," and that's because they were just being out atheists. Having characters in stuff can really make things easier on people. When it comes to what you tell your dad, if you're doing it for the right reason, I have no problem with it. But if it's just a way of, I don't want you to die not knowing me, I'm not sure that that's the best reason, but it's not a bad reason.
Right.
Because it's nice to have people genuinely know who you are and be okay with it. It's just, if you don't think your dad's going to be okay with it, it could make things really rough. So I don't envy your position. I can't tell you what to do.
Yeah. So like when I think about this, I think about, my own story here. And I did tell my parents that I was an atheist, and that was really bad. It was like not a great situation when that came out, but I didn't tell them that I was doing this show for a while. And so when that happened, they found out and they watched it on their own. And I didn't get the experience of explaining what this work was and what I was doing to them. And I regret that. I regret that because I didn't get to tell it in my own words and get them to understand exactly what I'm doing here. Because I think you can easily get the impression that, oh, I'm just trying to make people not believe in God and become nihilists and, I don't know, tear the world down, I guess, if you want to be uncharitable about it. But like, if you're already in a spot where you're sensitive about these things, and especially about someone you love, seeing them do something like this. And keep in mind, I was a Christian for them for, the first 20 or so years of my life. So this is a radical departure for who I was. That was a big part of my identity. And that was shocking to them, and it caused them a lot of discomfort and a lot of pain. And so obviously I know that's something you're considering, but on my end of things, I will say I was really glad when that Band-Aid was finally ripped off, because I felt like I could finally, even if I couldn't really talk about it with them, and I still don't, because it's not really a comfortable subject, but they at least know that about me now. And it's a part of my self-expression. It's a part of who I am, honestly, doing this show and talking about this stuff, because I've been doing it for so long at this point, that if they didn't know that, they wouldn't be knowing a part of me. If your dad wants to be in your life and respects you enough and understands enough about you that, he's going to respect your choices, which I don't know your relationship with him, then I would hope that he would understand that for you and what you're trying to do. But that's a sensitive conversation. And, I obviously, not knowing your entire background, I don't know what that would look like. But I will say for my own part, I'm really glad that I ended up having that conversation. I wish that I could have told them about my show and everything that I do here, but I am glad that I told them that I was an atheist in the first place, because if they didn't know that part, I mean, that's a whole other, can of worms to deal with. And there's that possibility too, that he might see or, know your work, and you don't get the chance to share that with him the way you would want to tell him. So, that would be my advice there. But ultimately, it's not something to be ashamed of if you decide not to either. It's definitely understandable. It's your choice whether to give that information to him or not. So.
Right. I thank you both. I mean, I could certainly see, like, especially if because he goes next week to find out exactly how bad it is or whatever. But, like, let's say that he's got 6 months. Like, of course, I'm not going to say a word. In fact, what good is that going to do? But he kind of, I grew up with the Pascal's wager kind of mindset from my dad. Like, what doesn't hurt to believe it, and why not? And I didn't know what that was at the time, and now I do. But so I don't really know, like, how I think he's just a person who just, like, knows there's a God, but doesn't really, like, too much. I mean, he does have a tattoo of, like, Jesus or something on his. He's one of those guys, and so, but he's not like a in church every Sunday kind of guy. But I hear you. Somebody said to me, like, well, you could just write under a pseudonym, for a while or whatever. But I don't hide it in my novels. I mean, I have, like, I put, like, an openly gay character in there, and that was kind of a weird thing with my parents. Like, why did you do that? And it's like, I was trying to, like, show them. I was trying to openly show them, like, hey, like, I'm not the person that you raised anymore, really, unfortunately for you guys.
Yeah.
But.
And you know what? Here is something that I found in my interaction that was really interesting. And it was, my parents were mad that I didn't tell them. And that was weird to me because from my perspective, well, of course I wasn't going to tell you because you're going to be mad. But also, like, I guess they felt like, I didn't trust them enough with that information. And that was true. Right. I didn't trust them with that. And I think they were hurt by that because, for my relationship with my parents, I've had a pretty good one, for the most part. So, like, the fact that I was hiding that from them for so long, they, I don't know, they thought that was, like, almost duplicitous of me, but also I think they felt offended that they couldn't be privy to that because it felt like that they did something wrong. That's something that I remember my mother specifically saying, that she felt like a bad mother. It was like, no, it's not that you're a bad mother, but, like, I'm just at a different place in my life right now. And, like, it took a whole journey to get where I'm at. And, like, unfortunately, if your dad's not already on that path, it's going to be a lot harder for him to understand. So, I totally respect your decision either way. But ultimately that's going to be something that only you can decide. And that's nothing that me and Matt can tell you,
Yeah. Well, there's those little comments like, well, I just don't know why God did this. And I don't know why God did this. And I'm like, just biting my tongue. Like, I know it doesn't make any sense. Does it, Dad?
Yeah. It really doesn't.
Matt.
Yes, sir.
When you mention your mom all the time, it makes me laugh. It makes me think about my mom, who's obviously gone now, but it makes me smile because she sounds just like her. And if she were alive, I would tell her because I could tell her that kind of thing, but she would react the same way yours does. So that's every time you mention, I'm like, it's so funny that Matt Dillahunty's mom, is just like my mom, like in that way, like that just shows you something about certain people just can't change. So, hey, and the only other thing is one of you's too old, one of you's too young, but I'm just right. So they're called talk guys.
I tell you, for years, I didn't talk.
Throw down the thumper, and then however many flip over is like points that you get, I guess. I don't know all the basics, but I was laughing through that because I'm like, oh my God, I remember these things. Hogs.
Yep.
Anyway. You guys, thank you so much. And I'll
thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
God, this is
call us back.
Thank you.
Let us know what you decide and how it goes.
I'm a big fan of everything ACA. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I'd love to hear that too, Justin. Feel free to, if you don't call in, please write into the show as well. The email for that's truth@atheist-community.org, and it's in the description as well. I'd love to hear what happens with that. But anyway, Matt, you were saying.
No, for years I didn't really talk about my mom on the show, and that was in part because my brother had kind of asked me not to.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not fair. They're not there to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't want my mom and dad to be a prop. But we had a bunch of talks, and I'm comfortable, talking about some of it. I don't tell everything about my family, but it's important because people need to know. They have a perception of me and my life. It's like when somebody shows up in my Twitch stream, they're always like, oh my God, I can't believe Matt plays games. And I'm like, I don't understand the mentality of not, as far as I know, everybody plays games. Like, I'm more baffled by people who don't play games. And I've been playing games since freaking Pong. But, you know, my parents and I have a relationship. It is weird and it is not what it used to be, but it's not a bad relationship. We've kind of agreed to set aside, you know, any discussions about the religion thing. And my dad has, on a number of different occasions, told me that he's proud of me. I know that he's not proud of me for being an atheist and hosting an atheist show. What he's proud of me for is being a self-sufficient man. Yeah. I make, you know, I haven't relied on them for anything since I left home at 18 to join the Navy, or at least not much. I mean, they've helped me out on occasion. You know, Dad helped me move from Norfolk. So there's still a good relationship there. You never know what I thought it was going to kill them. Like I figured this is going to be the end of my relationship with them. You know, and it's not.
Yeah, I thought the same for mine. And, you know, I feel weird talking about my family on the show too, but I talk about it for kind of similar reasons, I guess, to show that, hey, I'm just a normal person that struggles with family issues just as much as anybody else. And I may not always have the answers to it, but at the same time, I also feel pretty privileged because my relationship with my parents is a very good one. All things considered, I think they have very problematic views, and I will tell them that. But besides that, you know, like, I still have a good family relationship with them, and not everybody does when it comes to talking about these issues. And you and I hear about people all the time who have been cut off from their family completely and still struggle with having that relationship with them. And that's just another reason that motivates me to talk about this stuff, honestly, because, like, you know, everybody's going to go on their own journey in life and figuring this stuff out. And unfortunately, like, people go down paths that you and I would not want to see them go down. But like, I don't know. I don't think being an atheist is the worst thing you can be. I really think there's a lot of worse things you can be, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Like, if you listed the top 5,000 things that you could be that are terrible, atheists wouldn't be on the list. It's not a negative, but
yeah. It's so anyway, just another reason why we do what we do. But we should get to some more callers here. I'd also point out, I don't think Christian makes that list either. I don't think merely believing something that you don't have a good reason for. There are certainly particular versions of Christianity that are worse than others, and they amplify bad characteristics in people. But I know plenty of Christians who are fine. They're not biblical Christians. they're not pointing to the Bible and saying, "Oh yeah, we should have slaves and women should be subjugated to men and stuff." So right, yeah, it's definitely.